Hello people of the internet, my name is xKANAL and this is going to be my replay analysis of AUI 2000. Let's jump into got the game going here. Now, first off, DC do lose this game. I'm not casting it. I just want to do a replay analysis. AUI does make some questionable plays of the game, and I feel like we can definitely learn from them, and that's what I'm doing this for, is to learn from it, not so much to bash AUI 2000 or anything. So I've got nothing against him. I just want to try and help people learn from it, and even help myself learn from it. Now, one great thing that AUI does right off the bat is he TPs to lane and he places down this ward here. I'll just go free. Places down this ward here, and then that spots the Pudge moving through here first with a ward and place this one, and then later King gets a sweet D ward from the sentry that he got given from Mirana, which is great. So skipping forward a bit though, as you see, he got it there. Now he helps block the wave with the Mirana, and then what he does is he goes to pull straight away down here. He does screw up the pull, he doesn't get all the creeps, and then he screws up his second one, only getting one creep. So that kind of, oh my god, that kind of, turn that down. That kind of sucks, but obviously that's a mistake that we can learn from, is then to practice your pulls, get them down right, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's not horrible, but it just means that now the Pudge feels a lot safer up here in the lane because he's closer to his tower, and King doesn't get all the experience either. He only gets ones from the small camp, not from the medium camp also. Continuing to watch, he goes down to the rune here, and Mirana does get pretty heavily harassed, and what ends up happening is that she ends up just straight up dying. King obviously wasn't close enough to help out there, but what he does do is he comes into lane and takes advantage of the fact that Mirana's dead, and he gets as much experience from the lane as he can without stealing it from her. Then after that, he goes straight back to pulling again, because King is independent hero once he hits level 3, and he's so close to it, he might as well just pull to get the experience. He screws up, he misses one creep again, but it's not the end of the world. But he does pick up his level 3 in a few seconds. Yep. Now, he tries to connect the pull. It would have connected, but Pudge ends up coming in and screwing it up. And it doesn't really matter in the end though, because he has got his level 3. That's why it's so important, because now you can farm the medium camp by yourself. Now, what happens here is he finishes killing the medium camp, and then he comes around here to find the big camp has been blocked. The ward did just expire. He obviously doesn't know that, but it would have been super efficient for him to come in through here, stack the camp, and grab the rune. Then I'm guessing that they made the call to go on the Zeus, and he makes a rotation down here. But as soon as he sees that TP in, he should have just left. His stun is only level 1 still. The range is very short, but he ends up staying around in the river. What he really should have done is he should have came down here about now and pulled. Not right now, but you know, rotated down and pulled the wave. This would have led the Pudge to have to come up closer to get any experience if he wanted any, especially with the way he was playing. He could have pulled through, or just did a regular short pull, which would have worked fine as well, because they would have killed the Pudge and then pushed into the tower, and stacked. It wasn't the most efficient move he could have made. Now they do end up getting the kill here, which is great. It was mainly the work from TC here, doing the creep manipulation and harassing the Pudge down to a low enough point, but it's all good, it works out in the end anyway. But anyway, back into the jungle, he farms the small camp, and he farms a whole bunch of other camps. They do set up a kill on the Bane later, but it's pretty much just regular jungle farming for the next 10 minutes or so. So we'll jump forward to 10:30. Oh, that was a bit fast. Okay, jump back. Now, where are you, Sand King? Still back at base. Alright, so he came back to base. And what happens is spots the heaps of heroes here, and then he TPs in. Which was a good TP, for sure. Now, they surround this Pudge here, who's disrupted, and it doesn't end up mattering at all whether he's stunned or not. But Abaddon tried to save him, and he brought him down very low. Now this shows off why boots on Sand King are so good, because he's able to, here, catch up to the Abaddon much easier. Even though the PA was around, with the slow, it just made the kill that much more secured. Now after this, sure, he gets the kill here. Now after this, he goes back to the medium camp here to farm. Now, the Pudge respawns in 3 seconds, and he does TP to lane. Now if AOI was a bomb, there's a ward here, and it would have spotted the Pudge moving in through here. Obviously there's these illusions, but he knew they weren't illusions because they were there when they're at this fight here. So, what ends up happening is he's farming this camp here. He dodges, the Mirana dodges him, and the Pudge comes through here and ends up spotting him right at the wrong time. What he does, just back it up a little bit. While he's farming this camp, what he does, I don't know if he has some sort of autocast thing on, but he ends up just stunning the Pudge. And he could have easily stunned to the low ground and been totally safe. And then he would have had a Blink Dagger and everything would have been fine with the Alot. What ends up happening is he's dead for a while, and then his team gets initiated on up here because they have a sentry. God, why is this so fast all of a sudden? PA does have a double damage and is in the area, and what he probably thinks that he can come through and help out, but I mean it's a PA against a Slark. What's their lockdown gonna be? It's not a lot. So that's unfortunate, and he wastes a lot of time up here. What he could have done was he could have TP'd down here, harassed his Abaddon out of lane, or farmed into the jungle more, because Mirana isn't going to farm all the camps. But it was just a lot of inefficient time wasted here, and it further delays his Blink Dagger. Now we need to skip forward a little bit here. He finishes here and gets his Blink Dagger. Now what happens is these guys smoke, yep, and they go around here, and AOI runs into them just here. Now this fight is really interesting. He gets off a nice double stun. Unfortunately they do kill the PA, but the Zeus comes along and reveals him, as you saw just there. And then the Pudge comes along and all of his abilities are on cooldown, so there was nothing he could have done. The Pudge just runs him down. The Abaddon puts in a lot of work this fight, you'll see. Puts in a lot of work, it's quite an interesting fight. Yeah, Abaddon put in the work, man. Yeah. So that sucks for DC, but he has got his Blink Dagger now, so that's good. Now that he has his Blink Dagger, they want to try and set up a kill on the Slark. They end up baiting the Enchantress. That's not the Enchantress. I believe the Enchantress comes up here. Yep, there she is. And so they smoke up, and they come around here. And what ends up happening is he still doesn't have his ultimate. And he fucks up a stun here. And they do end up catching him just because they have 4 heroes. But he gets the kill, but now he's out of mana. If he had A, landed the stun here first, or didn't use it, he could have killed them. He could have killed the Slark here. And then he would have still had enough mana and an extra level to have his ultimate to set up for this fight here. What he does is he ends up running in and using a sandstorm, because that's all he can do. Which is enough to kill off the Pudge, but doesn't end up doing anything in the end. Not doing much in the end. Anyway, after this, he goes back to base. He picks up a magic stick and a smoke. And then they use the Enchantress to bait top again. And they do get a sweet kill here, as you'll see. Pudge gets a hook. God, I hate this when it speeds up. And you see AUI's coming in here with a smoke. And sets up a sweet kill. And it's totally worth to use your epicenter on a person like that in the early game, so that was really well done by him. But this doesn't happen again. Ever. This was his first kill with epicenter at 16 minutes. He should have at least 2 by now. He should have had his blink dagger at around 8 or 9 minutes if he had stacked his camps. So that just shows how delaying your blink dagger really snowballs into the rest of the game. Now skip forward here to 23. Let's jump back real quick. But this fight here was probably one of the biggest fight in the game. It does actually end up losing them the game. Essentially, they're already behind. But what happens is the Shadow Demon disrupts this Pudge. The Mirana's nearby and is setting up the stun. AUI blinks. Look how far he blinked. He blinked like 600 range or so and stuns even though the arrow was going to hit. I don't know if this is just a lack of communication, but it did end up hurting him because this puts his stun on cooldown. What happens now is he sandstorms and cancels it straight away. He should have either A, right after he fucked up that stun, he should have either A, sandstormed like he did and committed to it. Who has sentries? Did any of them have sentries? None of them had sentries. Wow, I really thought some of them had sentries. But they didn't have any sentries anyway, so I mean, you could expect them to have it, but it's whatever. You're still going to be getting damage off in the area of effect. This is such a huge choke point. He should have just sandstormed. Or, what he could have done is he could have ran this way and helped the Mirana kill this fucking Zeus. Because Zeus is your biggest counter, right? So, killing off the Zeus would leave you free to actually use your epicenter and not worry about being cancelled. Or, what he should have done is he should have backed off this way. That way, the Zeus wouldn't have spotted him, as you'll see soon. Because the Zeus comes around here, chasing the Mirana, and AUI comes around here. And the Zeus gets perfect vision of him, channeling his ultimate. And cancels it at the perfect time. And so this makes the epicenter completely useless, especially at level 1. It's very short pulses. And then he only stuns one person. So he broke all the rules of Sand King and dies. So that was just unfortunate for them that got off. But there were a lot of other options that he should have done. There were many different ways he could have taken that fight and it would have gone a lot better. It sucks he's against the Zeus, but you gotta play differently to avoid bad things like this happening. Now I believe there is. Yeah, okay. Let's jump forward here. Now, he does learn his lesson a bit. Although it doesn't show it, he's actually smoked. This is just a replay bug. And he learns his lesson. He's staying well away from the action, right? The range of static field is 1200, which is about here. Yeah, about there. So AUI is out of range of this bloody Zeus cancelling his blink. And what he does is perfect. He channels his epi, doesn't get it cancelled, and he stuns 2 people. That's the checklist. You get your epi off, you blink in, and you stun 2 people. Gotta nail that, man. Zeus does end up going down in the end, cancels his sandstorm, and that's fine, but he doesn't really do anything else in the rest of the fight. He got his ultimate off, which is good, and he kills 2 people, because the Zeus ends up dying. So that's great. So yeah, he learns his lesson in that regard. Now if we jump forward to 34, here we go. Oh, back a little bit. my god, this is so buggy. Holy crap. Okay, what he does is he TPs into the tree line here. And then he tries to set up a double stun on these two. Unfortunately, the Shadow Demon disrupts the Slark, and the Pudge blinks away. So that sucks. But he commits to his Sandstorm, and because there's no Zeus, there's no one who can blink, who can cancel it. So he's able to have it going the entire time. The Pudge tanks the whole damage. The Slark tanks the entire damage for a while. And this ends up netting him a kill on the Slark, as you'll see. And then he, all of a sudden, he's got 3k gold. Now what he ends up doing though is he ends up buying a Yule Scepter. Now, Yule Scepter against Pudge is one of the worst items you can buy because you can't use yourself and blink away. It's still good in the sense that it gives you the mana regen and movement speed, but especially now that in 6.85 that the cast range is a lot shorter, it's just not a very good item. I still think it's good in a lot of situations, but not in this case. He should have still bought a Veil. For sure. It's always core on Sand King because you get so much damage, utility, and survivability out of it. I'll show you the final team fight they have. It's up here a little bit. Right here. He channels, he gets a, let's go back actually. What happens is that he gets some good vision on these three. Sees they're pretty clumped up. They don't have very good vision on him. And so he channels his Epi. He gets a nice double stun off. As you see here. He jumps in and he gets that double stun, that key double stun. If he had a Veil, he would have killed this Bane 100%. He ends up sitting here doing nothing for a while. I don't know what's happened there, but it didn't really matter that much in the end. Yeah. So the Yules did nothing for you there. He couldn't have blinked out because of Pudge. He maybe could have blinked out because he was facing the right way against the Zeus. Depends how good Pycat was at cancelling his blink. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, the main thing to note was his efficiency in the jungle. He didn't get his blink dagger at a good time, and then that just snowballed into making things harder and harder for him as the game went along, especially against the Zeus. He also moved towards the Zeus in the end when that team fight was going down, and that lost him the game essentially. But that's my replay analysis of AOA 2000 playing Sand King at the Elimination Mode Tournament. I'm going to be doing another one on Mr. Sexy Bambo when he plays Sand King against Alliance. He does really well in that game, so it'd be good to analyze a win versus a loss, but you can still learn a lot from your losses. So I hope you took something away from this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, guys.